A solid practice routine is the single biggest thing you can have to make sure you're progressing as quickly as possible on the drums. You can practice for hours and hours, but if you're not organized, you can very quickly feel burnt out or deflated on drums. That's why right now, I'm going to help you build a practice routine that fits your lifestyle, gets you learning as quickly as possible, and make sure you don't feel like you're just spinning your wheels. The first thing we got to do is find out what your goals are. Somebody that's playing in a garage band with a few friends and is just looking to play a set in a year or so has much different priorities than somebody that's trying to get into, say, music school or looking to start playing professionally. The biggest thing is, practicing a little is always better than nothing at all. Sometimes having a huge list of stuff to work on can feel daunting and will stress you out to the point of not wanting to play. So try to tell yourself you'll just practice 5 minutes and then see how you feel. In most instances, you'll want to keep going once you get started. The other thing we should keep in mind is keeping your goals realistic and adaptable. If you're working full-time and you have kids, it's going to be much harder to find time to practice. But it's not a big deal because getting some jam time in will still keep you moving forward. And lastly, if you fall off the wagon and stop practicing, it's not a big deal. You can always come back later. I'll start off by showing you guys a practice routine for somebody looking to practice 30 minutes, 2 hours, or even 6 hours a day. Playing about 30 minutes per day is perfect for somebody looking to progress at a nice healthy rate. You can easily learn a full set of tunes, learn a bunch of new grooves, and develop some fresh techniques within a few months if you manage to do it 3 to 5 times per week. This is what I did when I first started playing drums, and it's still what I do when I'm learning secondary instruments like guitar or piano or something. Start off with some basic technique exercises to lock in good habits and make sure you're not playing with too much tension in your grip, shoulders, or posture. I tend to think of drums as having about 4 main techniques. You have stickings, doubles, molar stroke or accents, and linear stuff. So depending on what you think is your weak point, wait. How do I know what my weak points are? It's simple, just take a moment to record yourself. If you can do it while playing with a band, that's ideal, but otherwise, just play along with the tune you know, then listen back. Write down what you think you need to work on, and that'll give you a very good idea of what to do. Okay, great, so now that you know what you want to get better at, let's warm up with, say, some accent exercises. Do that for a full 10 minutes, but make sure you keep your phone on airplane mode. And now that your hands are warmed up, let's move on to something a bit more drum set oriented. Take some grooves from a style that you want to focus on and play that slowly with a metronome. Always practice with a click because you'll save yourself tons of time in the long run. You can practice grooves from tunes or transcriptions here, but the main focus is independence and coordination. So you can also be running patterns or permutations and just trying to tie your head in knots. And after you've done that for about 10 minutes, we're going to move on to something more musical. You can be either playing along with tunes or improvising over forms, etc. Just depends on what you want to do. But here you shouldn't be as focused on the technical aspects of drumming, more what's going on in the music. So ask yourself, how does my kick lock in with the bass, or what kind of dynamics should you be using in what section? After all that, here are some examples of 30-minute routines at a few different levels to give an idea of what I'm talking about. Try writing down your routine or put it in a Google Doc or something so you can track your progress. And then every month or so, record yourself again and update your practice routine. If you actually manage to stick to something like this, you'll get better than 90% of all drummers. The key is to think long term. You want to aim for years of doing this, not weeks or months. That's where you'll make huge improvements in your playing. However, there are some of you that might be taking things a little bit more seriously. If you're trying to get into music school, or you're already in music school, or you'd like to play professionally, 30 minutes per day just won't cut it. You'll have to aim for 2 to 4 hours of practice, about 5 times a week. Aside from that though, a lot of what I said earlier still applies. If you're swamped one week, don't worry about it. Just do what you can and then get back into practicing once your schedule allows it. However, there will likely be moments that you'll have to prioritize practicing over doing certain other things. So if drums is really what you want to do, you'll have to step up your discipline and get grinding. One thing you'll want to keep in mind though is that if you're practicing this much, you'll want to take breaks. You could do 2 hours in a row, but it's not the best way to fully absorb what you're working on. That's where the Pomodoro technique comes in. It sounds kind of weird, but it's just using a timer while you practice so that you stay on track and don't lose focus of what you're doing. Most people do 25 minutes of work and then take a 5-minute break. This is what I've been doing for years and it's helped me a ton. In the 5-minute break, you can do what you like, but personally, I like to either stretch or jump around or something so I don't get too stiff. And now, secondly, if your schedule allows it, you should try and space out your practice sessions. Try to have one session in the morning, another in the early afternoon, and then another in the evening. I know that might not work for everybody, but just do what you can. I usually end up splitting each Pomodoro into 2 parts so that I have about 12 minutes to work on each thing that I want to improve. And to know what you want to work on, you could listen to yourself playing several tunes and figure out what you're lacking, or you can dig through some drum books, or even try an online program and see how that goes. Here's currently what I'm working on as an example. A routine like this, I'd imagine, is close to what a lot of pro-level players are doing generally, but there's other people that have gone even heavier into practicing, and some manage to keep it up for long periods. When I've gone through big practice phases, I can sometimes practice 6 to 8 hours a day, but it's really tough to keep it up because your life pretty much has to revolve around your practice routine at this point. One of the biggest issues with practicing this much is your brain can really only handle playing about 3 to 4 hours while being fully concentrated every day. Obviously, this exceeds that limit. What you can do instead, though, is try working on technical exercises for long periods that don't require your full attention. You can then watch TV shows or listen to podcasts while you practice. It might sound silly, but you can really make a lot of progress by practicing like this. And it's much less mentally taxing. This is exactly what Ella Sipario does, and you can definitely tell. The second big problem with practicing like this is you can definitely get repetitive strain injuries like carpal tunnel and tendonitis, so watch out. These can arise faster than you think, within like weeks or a few months, so you have to make sure you're not practicing up-tempo stuff too much and really make sure your technique is dialed. I've had these kinds of issues and they're extremely difficult to deal with, so try your hardest to avoid them. And if something hurts, just rest. When you're practicing crazy hours like that though, it's still a great idea to have a list of priorities to keep you on track. Otherwise, you can end up playing random stuff without as much progress as you'd hope for. So I'd still stick with the Pomodoro timer system and make a general outline of what you want to work on. Practice, once again, is the single biggest thing you can do to improve your playing, and understanding how it works is extremely important. You can review different parts of this clip to see what kind of practice routine best fits your needs and adapt it to what you'd like to learn. If you only remember 2 things from this clip though, even though it's a cliche, it's a marathon and not a sprint. And a little is always better than nothing. But unfortunately, a lot of this stuff isn't very relevant if you don't know what to work on. So if you need some ideas, check out these clips here to get you on track.